Om Lokaha Samastaha Suki no Bhavantu. May all beings be happy and peaceful. Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's Phoenix here. Let me know in the chat if you're watching this. In the last live that I did, I didn't get any comments, even though there were several people that said that they were making comments. So that was kind of strange. Not sure why that happened, but um, so there's been a lot of activity today. It's been kind of up and down. Okay, awesome. Okay, so the chat is working today. That's a good sign. That's positive. Uh, there's been a lot of activity today. Of course, that was expected with the NFP announcements about basically job additions. And there was some sort of mixed reaction to that initially. And we're going to go through that in a moment here. But first, if you haven't already checked out the Small Cap Superstars, that is available now on my website, and you can check out the introduction here. You can click on that and read all about my methodology. Then there are the courses, the C3 courses that I have, number 1 through 5. I'm working on another one that is actually just sort of it consolidates all of the information in 1 through 5. But if you're just starting out, especially, there's a whole lot of information in here. And then I have the trading size spreadsheet, of course, for determining your trade sizes, position size. And if you want to join the C3 and get this information that I'm going to be sharing with you right now in advance, then all you need to do is sign up under MEXC with my referral link and make a deposit, send me the information. And that just, it helps me because I gain some of the trading fees from that would otherwise go to the exchange. So let's take a look at the charts now. Hi, Peter. How's it going? And what is going on? Another day for Bitcoin. I was actually focused mostly on stocks today because there was a lot of movement in the stock market and got some really good bids in earlier in the day that played out very nicely. Unfortunately, Bitcoin, it started to follow along with stocks, but then it kind of tapered off in the last hour. And I'm going to go through that in a moment here. We'll see if it can come back again. Looks like it's sort of on the edge in either direction. So just without any of the levels, looking from a daily perspective, we can see that we're in a general, it looks to be a general uptrend over the past week after a period of consolidation and a sort of bottoming that was hovering around this mid, which we're still sort of at near just above the mid, you could say, of this larger range. And so this is what prompted my bullish sentiment. And by bullish, I don't mean that I think this is the start of the next bull run. I think that this could be a very vicious rally to spark the new year. And so I just want to be crystal clear in that. I did purchase some spot Bitcoin at around 16,800, and I do plan to hold that for some time and maybe trade against that. But it's not necessarily a long-term hold for me. So just being as transparent as possible. This is the first time I've owned spot Bitcoin in many months. Actually, it's since last year, since over a year ago. So I do believe that we're going to see some more upside here. And I'm going to show you, we do have more evidence to support that argument after today. And so let's drop down. Hi, Echo. How's it going? This candle looks hideous to me. I don't know about you, but it all happened in the last hour. An hour ago, we saw this, and it was terrible. It was nice and clean, and it finally broke out and did what we wanted it to do. And you see these 4H candles, and then I was mentioning in the group earlier this morning when we saw this was an obvious sort of stop run. It's nice to sit out just after big announcements, and that was at the start of the stock market. And if you're ever curious about that, you can go to FX Street market calendar, and you can see, you can filter by high priority. You can see when certain announcements are going to obviously have a sway on the markets, and this was one in particular. And I was just going off of how is it settling after the initial reaction? There was a sell-off, but then there was the push back up again. But then as soon as it started to break back inside this range, this is where it's helpful to have your ranges identified. This is 16,770 was the bottom of this range for me. And you can see it's an obvious pivot zone here. This was previous resistance here. And you go back and you can see here it was held as support. This was, here we have another support level here. So it made sense when it broke back inside with some momentum that it was probably headed all the way to the top of this range. And it actually did that. It shot beyond the range. And oh, it's coming back now. Okay, so I may be actually entering some trades here while I'm talking to you all, if I can manage that, because I did actually enter a long for Bitcoin. I got out of this long when it started to really come down over here, and it's kind of back at that level now. But we'll see. I'm gonna share why I'm wary of this right now. I've been really wary of Bitcoin because I had a couple of weeks of some pretty significant, not significant, but a streak of losses that were because I wasn't taking profits soon enough, because this is basically a scalper's market right now and the movements are happening very quickly. And yeah, it is what it is. Unfortunately, that's how it's been. But I think that headed into next week, it's going to start to shift back to normal again. We'll see. At least that's my hope. But so this 15-minute candle was very telling. When it broke back inside the range, it's a bullish engulfing candle, came back inside. This was a long trigger for me. And so then from there, we rode it all the way up and it came up here, but this wick is just hideous. Now, I would be surprised. I would be really surprised. Maybe it makes another push up here. But when I see something like this, this is like this creates a bad memory. It's kind of like a nightmare for in the memories of longs all over the planet. And I don't like this. And I also see here that if you go back to the left, this happens to be the top of this sort of mini supply zone. You have to excuse me. I still have that dry cough going on. It's most active in the mornings, but there's a supply zone here, and it wicked up into it. And this is also the mid-level between the top of this range and this weekly level here. So it wicked almost to the mid-level here, and then instant rejection, boom. And not only was it rejected, but it came down lower back inside the range. Now it's sort of hovering. It's trying to break back up again. I don't know what it's going to do. You never know. I mean, it could still continue north from here. Maybe that was the retest and it happened in 1 hour. But if it was, I mean, it would have been a little bit, I would have felt a lot better about this if it hadn't had this long of a rejection wick. I mean, that's an inverted hammer here. And after a pretty strong move up over the course of the last few hours. So, and also we're headed into the weekend. And as we've known on the weekends, usually it starts to flatten out. We don't see a whole lot of volatility. So this could be another final attempt to push back up again. And maybe if this is rejected here, then we're definitely headed back inside this range. But still, even with all of that, because of the macro context, because the dollar's down to about beneath 104 today, the stock market is also something that we really need to be paying attention to, because the ES, the futures for the S&P, it came back inside this range here. Okay. And so this means that we're likely headed much higher for stocks. It looks like Tesla had a major rebound today. I was scooping some Tesla at around 108. Tesla came all the way up to 113 today after being down. A lot of these started down several percentage points, and then they came back up, recovered, and Apple as well, and Amazon up 3.5%. So I think that in all likelihood, when you get this, here's our range on top here, the deviation back inside, it's holding for now. There's really no indication that it wants to reverse, which was why it was surprising to me that Bitcoin really was sold off that fiercely. It kind of showed there's obviously some whales that didn't want the price to go up just yet. So, but I don't think they're going to be able to hold it back forever. So I'm just a little bit wary. Maybe I should have held on to that long, but I'm not so sure. I mean, I feel like if we get back inside beneath the 16,920, then in all likelihood, it's probably headed down at least to the mid again. it'll probably at least revisit the mid of this range, which is somewhere around 16,850. And maybe that will hold as the ultimate support. But in order to get some confirmation, it's tricky when you have a memory like this, when you have a nightmare candle on the 1H. You can see it's already starting to sort of reject here. I'm not confident. I'm not confident in taking a long at this point. I was hoping that it would blast off and that it would show some stability, but Bitcoin has not been stable so far. Now, Ethereum actually did not sell off as fiercely as Bitcoin, which could be a good sign for a lot of the alts. Now, ADA is another one. This one's been bugging the hell out of me because I caught a breakout move on this and then it reversed, and then I just got out of it because I didn't want to deal with it, and then it reversed again. And so, but ADA also, it's not really making up its mind. There's no clear, I mean, it's obviously in an uptrend, and it looks like it wants to head north to this supply zone, which is the mid of that is about 0.284. And this is sort of a profit, or sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? It's a take profit level. It's a hypothetical take profit level, but ADA, in order to break out, ETH needs to hold up. And so far, actually, ETH is holding up. Relative to Bitcoin, it looks like Ethereum is definitely stronger, but is that sustainable? I don't really know for sure. I don't know why my chart always does that. It goes off the auto mode when I switch charts sometimes. It's really frustrating. Yeah, I mean, you can't really make sense of Ethereum lately. It's definitely stronger than Bitcoin right now. But again, I wouldn't long this because of where it is. If it comes back down here, yeah, I'm just not really interested in trading Ethereum right now. It's not very clean to me. But this is a good sort of signal for the other alts that could potentially really blast off. And BNB is another one that could really, really move here. We saw Lido just at one point, I mean, it's up almost 11% right now. Lido's just been on a streak here. It's just been going crazy, but this is a supply zone right here, and you can see the initial rejection. So actually, Lido might be, especially if things start to cool down headed into the weekend, Lido might be headed down from here. But I'm not going to bet against this just yet, unless I see Bitcoin start to drop back below 16,900 and Ethereum start to come back below maybe 1255, 1260. Yeah, I mean, just look at this candle for Bitcoin. That, that 4H candle, if it closes anywhere over here, then in all probability, we're going to chop around between 16,850 and 16,900 for the rest of the weekend. And maybe we'll have some more clarity next week after we have more consolidation. So a consolidation here makes sense. And then headed into next week, if we continue this trajectory for stocks, then that may be Monday, may be the day when we finally break free from the 17K. I'm a poet. I didn't know it. But I think that this is a very critical level for Bitcoin. And if it's going to happen, then it needs to happen in the next hour or so, or it's not going to happen until Monday. And that's just my humble opinion. Maybe you just never know because it's been kind of crazy lately, but there hasn't been the books have been, the books have been very thin lately. So I'm not super optimistic. And sometimes, I was just a couple hours ago, but now I'm not. So that's just the way the markets have been lately, unfortunately. And it's unpredictable because, I mean, we didn't get a strong rejection on the S&P. It didn't happen. I mean, if I had seen a big, strong down candle here, then I would have been like, okay, this makes more sense. But we didn't get that. We actually got back inside this range, this key range here. And so in all probability, it looks like it wants to go much higher. So I don't know what's holding Bitcoin back right now, but it's holding back the rest of the market. And that's why I don't really focus as much on the altcoins when I don't see Bitcoin. I mean, we're up on the day, right? I mean, that's positive. It's up 0.6%. Great. Woohoo, but we're not like, this isn't a real breakout. We can't qualify this as a breakout. Now, Near, on the other hand, and some of the others have already done that, and then some. Near is consolidating. before potentially making another move up. But it needs to recapture this 159. Now, I wouldn't personally long this. But actually, if it did recapture 159, and you see it come up here, and then it starts to consolidate here, and then we see a pattern develop and it breaks out of that pattern, then I would definitely consider a long, given the context, given that Ethereum is still pushing up. Okay, then I would consider a long. But then you have to think in terms of like risk reward. I mean, I guess that's a decent setup. You know, you could have your you could take your first profit at somewhere at the mid, which would be probably around, what's that, around 1658, and then finally 1735. Actually, that's a little low. Well, yeah, 1735 would probably be where I'd have my second TP for near, but I don't think that's going to happen just yet. That might happen next week though. But again, I'm also wary of taking longs when I've seen such a strong move up already. This could be a bull flag though for near, and we might see, I think a lot of people are going to be shocked to see how fierce some of these alts move, because it's like they've been bottled up for so long and they're just ready to rocket. Tombstone, how's it going? Hi, Terrence. XMR. I haven't looked at XMR in a long time, so let's see if we can. Let's see what we see. Sometimes I don't really see much here. Yeah, I wouldn't trade this. I mean, it doesn't give me any clarity. It looks like a larger range that we're sitting in right now, and it's near the top of the range. But possibly if it breaks out above 165 with some strength, then I might consider taking a long. But it's not sticking out to me in a significant way. It doesn't, like, nothing's jumping out at me with that. So Matic, waiting on Ethereum as well, but I'm not personally interested in Matic until it breaks above 0.821 and then shows some strength from there, and then I'd probably be looking to long it to the mid, which happens to be probably around 0.888, this level up here, and then see what happens after that from there. But Matic is definitely, it's recaptured. I mean, it's held at the bottom of this range here. It's come back inside. We've deviated back inside. Probably going to eventually head back up to this 0.82, and we'll see what it does from there. Or maybe it comes down a little bit and starts to consolidate and then pushes back up again, and that would be a potential long scenario. So two possible scenarios here. It comes down here, 0.785, and then it forms a pattern, and we see a break back above, and then it comes back up here. Second, or you could compound when it breaks up above here. Okay, and then be longing it up to this level here. 0.885 is actually a supply zone here. And also, yeah, you can see previous support turn into a supply zone. So, but that's not ready yet. A lot of these are just sort of musings at this point. Sushi. Wow, Sushi actually looks like it wants to break out too. Interesting, because I've been waiting on this for a long time, and I had to get in and out of a trade that, yeah, so I think that Sushi is going to come up from here eventually, but this might also have to wait until Monday. And it just came, that's why I didn't see it, because it just came below my alert here. So I think that, yeah, I think it's probably going to continue to chop around here, but this level here that I have, this 101, if it breaks above with some conviction, then the sky's the limit for Sushi. I think it could go a lot higher. And this is the larger range here for Sushi, between 167 and about $1. So even if you just caught half of this up to the mid, we're looking at, like, you know, pretty significant return on that. And I'd be more inclined to have like a spot position on this and have a much wider have a much wider stop and just try and ride it all the way back up to like $1.50 or so. That's if we get the green light for the alts, and what's going to require that's going to mean that Ethereum is probably headed back above. It has to at least hold here. Probably once Ethereum gets above 1300, then it's game on for the alts, and I think alts are just going to explode during this rally. So I am anticipating more upside for all of the altcoins, or a lot of the altcoins. Some of them will really do better than others, but be careful. Not financial advice, of course, but it's just I've lost a lot of money in alts just the last week because there's been very thin liquidity, like sushi, for example. You just, the spreads are ridiculous, and it's just, yeah, it's not very fun sometimes to trade them. That's why it's better to just buy and hold some of them, and if you know the bigger picture of it. So Ocean and Dash, man, you're really trading these alts. I don't know, some of these I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it needs to show some strength here. It looks like it's in the middle of a range right now. So there's the lower part of the range. I would call that the upper part of the range. We're at the mid right now. So this is in a trade zone for me. So it needs to either come down or go back up. So at $53, but then I wouldn't be as eager to trade this because of this. I don't like when I see a zone like this where there's all this congestion. It's like traffic right after you break free. It's like traffic on top of traffic, right? So you break free of the zone and then boom, it's right there. You want to see like a thin move. You want to see just a single candle, ideally, that's heading down into that, or at least less than what we have here. So this isn't trade worthy for me. So this is how you can see how I identify, this is how you can rule out a lot of charts and free up your mental bandwidth, because that's really important as a trader, that you're not focusing on things that don't matter, right? I'm just gonna tell you right now, Dash doesn't matter. There's so many charts, guys. It's Gala. Okay. No. I mean, maybe this is not I don't have the appetite for this type of a chart. I need to see. I think Dash, if it does push up here, there's definitely going to be some resistance at 0.0238. That's where I'd be looking to take profits if I was already in this. I'd probably go a little bit below that. So that's like 0.0235. But if I wasn't in the trade, I wouldn't get in the trade here. It could very well run up to here at minimum, but beyond that, I'd be careful here. And a single 4H candle is not really enough for me. And there's not really a pattern. You could say this is sort of a nice little bottom here, but look at what it's been doing all this way. The trajectory has been down. It's up 21.5% today. Wow, that's amazing. But that's how it is, because there's not really, it's easy to push these up. This one candle is almost 13%. So I'm not going to look at Ocean. I don't really care about that one. BNB, I mentioned, okay, so this is similar to ADA, but different. I think ADA, it looks prettier to me. I'm going to keep going back to these only because I'm also eyeing, yeah, of course it did that. Of course it did. We'll see what happens. It could reject again. If it rejects again here, then the breakout is on hold. But this was a technical breakout to me, because first it came up above resistance here, broke out of the range with some strength, mind you, and then broke down, but then retested, and we have a bullish candle here, bullish engulfing. I've retested again, another bullish engulfing candle. Okay, so here's where I entered, and then it broke out, really broke out, and then it broke down, and then it broke out, and now it just can't make up its freaking mind, and it's really frustrating. But I really believe that ADA is coming up to this level here. And just this 4H candle, if it closes here, that's very bullish. This is a very bullish structure for ADA. Yeah, it's hard. It's a tough one. Yeah, so BNB is doing something similar right now. And the difference is that the supply zone for BNB is like right here. It's like already there. So I don't have high hopes that BNB is going to break through this weekend, but once it does, then there's a lot more room for upside. Okay, so I'd be looking more at like 263.3 to see when it breaks above there. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to shift my alert to that level. Because notice that it's not just a supply zone here, but it's also previous support here, 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 here. I deviated here, but major support level here, flipped into a supply zone, and now it's proven to be resistant. So, but it looks like it wants to break free. This looks like a bullish rectangle here. So I think it will ultimately, but that might not happen till Monday. Who knows? Maybe the alts just go crazy this weekend, but that would be an anomaly because we haven't seen anything like that for months. I mean, not that I can remember. Can any of you remember a weekend where we had just crazy pumping for alts? It seems like that was like so many years ago at this point. Near had a nice little run here. Did I go through Near? I did. I already went through Near. Near, Matic, Lido, Sushi. What haven't I covered? Are there any others? Yeah, Sushi needs to clear this 101. They're all kind of on the brink. You know, they're all kind of on the brink, and it could go either way. And I think in all probability, they're going to consolidate before the breakout. And that would be healthy, actually. That would be healthy. I'm not eager to fade here, although maybe a quick scalp for Bitcoin, since that seems to be the way it goes. I think every single trade that I've made over the last 3 weeks, if I had just scalped it and just gotten out of it as soon as it moved the way I wanted it to, I would be a lot better off right now. But that's the type of market that we're in, and it's a good opportunity to recognize, like, oh, this really is not the best time to be trading. And unfortunately, I didn't do that. But for the next 10 years, I'm gonna take the month of holidays off and just stick to my rules. So let's see if I can pull up another list here and find some other ones that are worth trading. Geez, Illuvium just keeps going down. This one I still have some that this is a 2-year lockup for me, this one. And so I'm still waiting for some of this to come out so that I can just sell it already. But I'm going to hold some of it too. So XRP, wow, look at that wick. Oh my gosh. That's ridiculous. That's complete. This is exactly what I mean. This is exactly what I mean with altcoins. It's just so scammy. There's just not enough liquidity right now. And I don't see anything meaningful here for XRP. I mean, it does look like it looks potentially bullish. I mean, it looks like it could, but it's just, yeah, I don't even want to break this down. It just doesn't, it's not worth it for me. Doge also looks like it wants to come back up again. Yep, this is a bullish structure. I mean, it's definitely, at minimum, you could say that we have a sort of a bottoming here, get back inside this range here, a lot more room for upside between here, and here's your mid, so that would be an obvious target up there. But maybe waiting for it to clear up here first. It clears above here with some strength, and then that would be a potential long setup for Doge up to, let me mark these out. This is 0.08258 and then 0.09467. This could be the bottom for Doge, a local bottom at least. I don't want to say it's the absolute bottom, but yeah, look at how massive this range is here. So I would say that we've had support, support, support. Now it's back inside. We're seeing that same pattern for a lot of these charts where it just wants to, it's holding. It's been holding up. So I haven't looked at Link in a while. It almost looks identical, the price action on a lot of these charts. Yeah, I wouldn't be eager to long this because of this here. I'd want to see it actually break above here first. At around 605, maybe I'll set an alert here and see what happens at this level. But not a whole lot of, not a high enough RR for me to consider that as a trade. Uniswap is garbage as usual. Thank you, no thank you. Have a nice day. Yeah, I looked at XMR. I don't know what's the, why is everyone so obsessed with XMR right now? Is it because it had a nice jump today? We'll just go back in the live because I already covered it. Yeah, I don't know. I just don't see, I mean, it's in an uptrend, right? It's in an uptrend. But maybe, and it already did pull back here to this 152.48. This would have been a place. It actually looked like it did successfully come back. It looks like it wants to push higher. I'm just not really interested in it. I'm not really interested in trading it personally. Yeah, Quant looks terrible too. Choppy mofo. Let's see what AVAX is doing. Okay, so I'd wait on AVAX for it to get back inside here. Okay, so this is 12.15. So it pushes up, back inside, breaks above. Target 1 here, 12.77. Second target, 13.41. Let me mark those out in case you want to screenshot this. Okay, so there's the setup for AVAX. I know some of you enjoy trading this one. Personally, I haven't traded it in a long time, but I'm going to set an alert there as well. Okay, so you notice the methodology that I'm using here. I won't revisit this chart until it hits that level, and then I'll even leave this up and so that I can remember, which it's not hard for me to remember once I've set it up, but I can remember, okay, oh, that was the plan. Oh, it just hit the level. Now let's see what it does here. And at that point, what am I looking for? You know, no traders ever talk about this, and it annoys the hell out of me. Like, they don't talk about what's your entry trigger. Well, what is my entry trigger? A lot of the times it's a bullish engulfing candle that breaks above a pattern, or we have a strong an attempt to push it down and we have a strong rejection wick. I look for either a pin bar, which is where the body is 25% or less of the actual length of the full candle, including the wick. And obviously it needs to be in the right direction, so the wick needs to be down, right? Or I look for a bullish engulfing, but not just that. I look for the context where, like, let's say that this is the pattern right here that develops right up here, right? And we're chopping around in here. That's why I show this. That's why I'm trying to draw that here. And then it breaks above. It breaks above here, and we see some strength. We see a bullish candle, a strong candle, and we see an attempted move down, and then it pushes back up again. So those are entry triggers. I don't know what's so hard about this. You know, like, I'm in some trading groups, other trading groups, and they don't even talk about it. And it's just like annoying. It doesn't make any sense to me. So if you have any questions about that ever, I'm happy to share. But that's like one of the most important aspects of trading, is knowing when to take the trade, right? It just blows my mind. So when everyone's asking about it, then that means it's over. Yep, that means, well, you can apply that to pretty much everything in cryptocurrency. So it's a universal law. Wow, DOT. This is interesting, because look, this is where I'm like, okay, my mouth is watering here, because look at this. You see that? It's just one big fat move down. Well, guess what? It's creeping back up again. And guess what? It looks like it wants to break free. But not yet. Not yet. It needs to break free. But am I going to jump in the first time it breaks above? No. If it breaks above and runs away, well, too bad. I missed out on the trade. But I'd rather, most often than not, it breaks out, comes back, revisits, stumbles around, and then we get a clearance here. And there's your trade. And that's a pretty decent setup there, because this one, you got a supply zone, but it's not up. It's up, it's a 5.75% move here. And if you're getting in here, maybe your stop is what, 1.5%. So that's a pretty high R multiple there. And that would be maybe the initial take profit. And then if it gets back inside here, then most likely coming back to the mid, which is what, 5.530, that's 11.25%. And then up here, maybe a third take profit at 548. Okay, so I'm setting up trades for next week, maybe for myself. We'll see. If the alts, again, be prepared, because if alts go off, it's going to be game on. There's a lot of money to be made in this, but be careful, because these alts are unpredictable, especially the ones with the lower market cap like this. I'm not going to trade this. I'm not interested in this. But you see how they can move. They can really move. Like in 2 hours, in 3 hours, this thing moved almost 13%. So I've pretty much exhausted the charts here, the ones that I'm interested in right now. And let's go back to Bitcoin for a moment and see what's happening here. I mean, this is kind of what I would expect. I was hoping that we'd see this without this wick here. I would actually have rather have seen Bitcoin just come up here and really start to consolidate and not try and make one massive push up and then immediately reject. It's kind of like, it's on steroids or something. This is not, yeah, it's not ideal. But who knows? Maybe it just keeps going. I mean, it's not as common, right? Because whenever we see a wick like this, what happens? We see it, especially at the extreme, right? We saw the wicks here. It's almost identical. Rejection, and eventually consolidated and came back down, all the way back down again. Here, rejection, and then eventually came all the way back up again. So when we see wicks like this, it means that it's most likely going to reject down. That's the initial impulse. And I guess that when we revisit a supply zone for the first time, I mean, you could say it ran the stops. Well, actually wicked up almost exactly to where this was here, but it came up to the supply zone again. At some point, this is going to have to break through here, especially with stocks doing what they're doing. I mean, this is a perfect bottom formation here. I probably should have just stayed in that long from 16,620 and just held it through, but it is what it is. There's been a lot of activity in the Forex markets too, like the dollar. I didn't make any trades. I think I just shorted euro I don't know how long ago that was, but the Dixie, I don't know. It looked like that's a pretty strong reversal today. I mean, that's pretty strong after really bottoming and looking like it was going to break back and move up with some strength. And then we got the NFP, the non-farm payrolls, basically, that had the effect of dropping the dollar all the way back down. And then you see Euro USD came all the way back up again, which means that Euro USD probably isn't finished here with this run. It's probably going to head back up here. I mean, I would say I would be targeting this 107.8. So I think Euro is going to be strong. Dixie's probably going to continue to be weak here. And then the cable also. I'm not going to get too much into Forex. If there's interest in that, maybe I'll consider it in the future. But stocks have been strong. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Bitcoin, I mean, it's obviously, we're still in a good place. We're still above. I can't complain here. Actually, here we go. Look at this. And we're still above this 16,920 but I don't want to long this headed into the weekend, and I don't want to hold my long headed into the weekend. I'd rather just book my profits. I've made that mistake too many times. So that's where I'm at today. Uh, I'm gonna head off here because I'm probably gonna put out another video at some point this weekend, and I'm trying to save my voice also and focus on these charts. But overall, it was a decent week for me. I took some losses trading some alts. I really want ADA to break out, but I don't know that it will here. It's been I don't know, it's really, for some reason, I've had a hard time reading. At first I thought it was going to break down, and then I was shorting it. Now it looked like it was giving all the signs that it was wanting to break out. Yeah, we're going to wait. We might have to wait a little bit longer. I think it's inevitable. It's just set your alerts, have it ready for when the action happens. Be ready for anything. Maybe it happens on Sunday. Sunday could be a big day. But I think this is all really positive because it means that we have something to work with. And I think that we're getting the early signs that the volatility, liquidity is coming back. This is to be expected. And I think that starting on the 9th, that we'll see more action. So thank you all for tuning in and watching. I really appreciate your support. It's kind of been an interesting experiment for me doing the lives for crypto, but also making other videos that feel good for me, that kind of nourish my soul. And that's really important, by the way, because this is just I can't just do this all the time. And it's been a great experiment for me, and I plan to continue it through the rest of this bear. I'm really optimistic about 2023, and I'm a pretty realistic person. I'm not hype driven. But I'm pretty logical, and I do believe that we're seeing signs. I don't want to say that we've hit the bottom, but we're seeing signs that it's possible. It is possible. But definitely I feel like a rally to 21K is in the cards here. And so for what it's worth, I hope that it was helpful for you, that you got some value from it. I'd love to hear your feedback. And have a great rest of your weekend. And I will see you on Monday. I plan to do these around the same time. Let me know. Also comment. Let me know if this is a good time for you. If it's 11:30 my time, but it's about a half hour after the U.S. stocks close. That's how I sort of frame these. So yeah, let me know. Give me some feedback. Help me out a little bit so I can, and if there's ever charts that you want me to cover, I will do my best. I can't look at all of them, but I will do my best to take a look and give you my read on the market. So have a beautiful rest of your day.